Culture is a natural phenomenon for man. Culture is religious. Culture is spiritual. It originates in man, and man becomes man only through it. Our epoch has diminished, one might even say corrupted, the true, hidden concept of culture. The modern world has forgotten its original sacred meaning. In particular, Western logic often confuses culture with civilization, the eternal with the ephemeral. But can we today claim to understand the depth of the meaning of the term culture and the importance of culture for humanity? The main task of culture is to give humanity a lost spiritual unity. At the beginning of the 20th century, Nicholas Roerich, a well-known artist, scholar, lawyer and public figure, saw in culture a force capable of revitalizing, ennobling and saving the world from the catastrophes and crises of modernity. He was convinced that monuments, paintings, books, icons, all works of art created by mankind since the Stone Age are the foundation of culture on which the future of human society should be built. To realize this lofty humanistic idea, Roerich proposed uniting the efforts of the peoples of the earth to protect the world's cultural heritage. But perhaps only in the future will humanity fully understand and appreciate Nicholas Roerich's great enterprise, an undertaking that is legally documented and known today as the Roerich Pact under the banner of peace. This agreement was signed in Washington on April 15, 1935, by representatives from 21 countries in both Americas. The signing of the pact was preceded by extensive educational activities, which included 3 international conferences. The year 2022 marks the 90th anniversary of the second international conference in support of the Roerich Pact and the Banner of Peace held in Bruges, Belgium. It is worth recalling that this was a public and civil initiative that provided a strong impetus for understanding the importance of protecting cultural heritage and shaping a global approach to the issue. The first Roerich Pact and Peace Banner committees were established in New York in 1929 and in Paris and Bruges in 1930. The aim of these committees was to propose ideas of the necessity for the immediate protection of the cultural heritage of humanity. On the initiative of the public in Europe, namely in the Belgian city of Bruges, the first international conference in support of the Roerich Pact, also called the Peace Banner Project, were held. The first international conference on the Roerich Pact took place from the 13th to 15th of September 1931 and generated great enthusiasm in various cultural circles. During the days of the first international conference, the Peace Banner was consecrated for the first time. This consecration took place in the Basilica of the Holy Blood in Bruges. Nicholas Roerich, who attached great importance to this event, noted that the Peace Banner was meant to symbolize universal concern for spiritual and cultural well-being, just as the Red Cross expresses the common feeling of all peoples for physical well-being. The second international conference in support of the ideas of the Roerich Pact was also held in Bruges in 1932. It was no coincidence that Bruges became a European center for promoting humanist ideas to protect universal cultural monuments. The history of Bruges dates back to the time when the Normans came to the area. Over time, from the first castle built by the first Count of Flanders, Balduin with the Iron Hand, to the canals that connected the area to the North Sea, the city developed into an important port and one of the most important trading centers in Northern Europe. And so, in the 14th and 15th centuries, Bruges played an important role in trade between East and West. However, in the 16th century, political circumstances, as well as the natural silting up of the canals connected the city to the sea, led to the decline of the city's golden age. The poverty of past centuries seemed to have paved the way for the city's current wealth. Many historic buildings have survived the passage of time and made Bruges what it is today, a typical medieval Flemish city. Bruges is a city that stands immortally as a symbol for many great names. The painters Memling, Van Eyck, Van der Weyden, the names of famous Belgian poets, writers and dramatists, such as Verhaeren, Rodenbach and Maeterlinck, are also inextricably linked with Bruges. Nicolas Roerich called the city the incomparable Bruges, whose images live on in many of his paintings and theatre scenes. The city's exceptional historical atmosphere, especially its culture, and the care and dedication of its inhabitants led to the old town of Bruges being recognized as a World Heritage Site in 2000. But let's go back to the 1930s, when Camille Tilping, president of the Royal Society for the Preservation of Monuments in Belgium, proposed that Bruges become a center for the dissemination of the Roerich Pact. It was here that the International Union of the Roerich Pact was founded. How small in comparison to the planet, but how great in time is this city, from which an unprecedented anonymous call rings out to the nations to admire the perfection of beauty, spoke Camille Tilping in his speech at the conference. The Roerich Pact provides that the parties shall honor, support and protect the cultural achievements of each nation. All monuments of cultural significance, artistic and scientific missions, works of art and cultural chronicles are to be considered neutral. They are to be respected in times of war as well as in times of peace, and are to be marked with a special emblem, the banner of peace. This banner is based on the sign of the Trinity, which is scattered all over the world and depicted on many cultural monuments of different areas. Since the first conference, there have been numerous letters of support for the ideas of the Roerich Pact and the protection of cultural property. The number of supporters grew, bringing with them very good and well-known names. At the same time, of course, the number of envious, slanderous and begrudging people grew, for whom all the treasures of the human spirits are only an obstacle to their selfish plans and mercantile aspirations, wrote Nicolas Roerich to Karl Taube in his letter of the 13th of February in 1932. Despite the difficult times, the International Union of the Roerich Pact, chaired by Camille Tilping, convened the Second International Conference on the Roerich Pact in August 1932. The conference was held in the Grand Hotel from the 7th to 9th of August and was attended by representatives from 23 countries in Europe, Asia, Africa and the Americas. The conference was held under the patronage of Dr. Mineshiro Adachi, President of the Permanent Court of International Justice in The Hague, and was welcomed on behalf of King Albert of Belgium and the Prime Minister of the Belgian Cabinet. In his address to the second conference, Nicolas Roerich wrote that in 1 year since the first conference in Bruges, new regrettable and irreplaceable destructions of both art objects and book collections have been reported from a number of countries. He pointed out that while war cruelly threatens the monuments of creation, outside official wars, in the other conflicts of humanity, these monuments are no less endangered. Nicolas Roerich appealed to the participants of the conference to urgently and widely spread the ideas of the pact and the importance of its symbol, the banner of peace. The Pact for the Protection of Cultural Property is needed not only as an official treaty, but as an educational law that from the first days of school educates the young generation with the noble ideas about the preservation of the true values of all humanity. The most important decision of the second conference was an appeal to all countries to recognize the Roerich Pact as an international instrument. During the second conference, despite the extremely difficult political times Belgium was experiencing, an exhibition was organized showing about 6,000 photos of monuments that needed special protection because of their uniqueness. This exhibition gave rise to the idea of founding a League of Ancient Cities of Art and declaring cities such as Rome, Venice, Bruges, Padua, Rouen and others to be untouchable museum cities. The exhibition also featured 18 paintings by Nicolas Roerich. Beside paintings representing the Catholic theme, most notably Madonna Oriflama, paintings created during Roerich's expedition to Central Asia were on display. So, for example, Saint Francis, Sophia the Wisdom, The Way to Kailas, Chenrezig, Palten Lamo, and others. Queen Elizabeth of Belgium took the interests of the exhibition to heart, and Nicolas Roerich wrote to his pen pals that the exhibition hall with its paintings could be inaugurated with the name of Queen Elizabeth, who would be the best spiritual guardian of our idea. The British press, such as the Times, the Daily Mail, Daily Telegraph, reported on the exhibition, which was a great success. By decision of the Second International Conference for the Roerich Pact, a new international organization was founded in Bruges in August 1932. Foundatio Roerich pro Pace Arte Scientia et Labori, the Roerich Foundation for Peace, Art, Science and Labor, with the aim of promoting the ideas of the Pact in every possible way and establishing permanent contacts with the International Art Committee of the League of Nations and the Presidium of the Conference for Arms Limitation. This foundation, according to Nicholas Roerich, should primarily strive to help young people understand the art of all countries, to awaken in them a love of beauty, even of ordinary things, to promote international relations with a minimum of difficulty and expense through a system of student exchange. By decree of the Bruges City Council of August 1932, a building at number 8 Van Eyck Square was made available for the establishment of the Nicholas Roerich Museum. The director of the museum, Camille Turpin, put a lot of work into organizing this museum. Nicholas Roerich, who worked selflessly in the name of culture, can confidently be called a true apostle of culture. The name of Roerich will go down in history as the name of a man who has done more for the development of art and culture and for the achievement of lasting peace than any other, now or in the past. This is the extract from an article in the London magazine Around the World. The bitter experience of our history shows how necessary an international treaty to protect cultural heritage was, and European countries can only regret the lost moment when the signing of the first international treaty for the protection of cultural property, the Roerich Pact, could have changed the course of history. The losses of the world wars in the 20th century and the wars of today are irreparable, because even the restoration of a completely destroyed monument cannot bring back the energy that the old masters put into it through their creative work. Such a monument will always remain only a copy. Many historic cities suffered in the wars of the 20th century and were even completely destroyed. Bruges was lucky, or rather, it had guardian angels who saved it from imminent destruction. Particular mention should be made of a moment in the final stages of the Second World War, when orders came from the German High Command to reduce Bruges to rubble. The artillery pieces were only 18 kilometers from the city, so it would not have taken much effort to do the same. Refusing orders, especially to a high command, was by no means a matter of course in the German army. But the commander, Immo Hoffmann, did not obey the order, and so the town survived. Maybe it was just luck, but the city of Bruges should be eternally grateful to Immo Hoffmann. But we can also safely assume that the consecration of the peace banner in the Basilica of the Holy Blood in 1931 and the holding of 2 conferences for the protection of culture preserved the treasures of the old Flemish city. To the younger generations, we want to say repeatedly that the very best periods of human history have brought progress and prosperity, where a tradition of reverence and respect for culture has grown, wrote Nicholas Roerich. Indeed, in the present turmoil of the world, in the extraordinary difficulties, both spiritual and material, the question of attention to the monuments of art and knowledge acquires a very special historical significance. Nicholas Roerich's words that the 1932 conference in Bruges is as such already a real historical monument are true. In its essence, culture is an international language, a link between peoples. Culture is a bridge that makes our encounters so friendly. It is a key that opens our hearts. The Roerich Pact set in motion the greatest cultural movement of our time, opening a wonderful page in the history of civilization. There are still only a few such pages in the life of the human community, but many more will follow as humanity realizes that people must become creators and protectors of the beautiful, with every movement of their hand and every impulse of their mind.